Hello, my name's Sam Gray and I'm the designer of Peaks, a mountaineering board game for 1 to 6 players. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to play the solo version of Peaks. I'm assuming here that you already know how to play the multiplayer version, so if you don't, check the description below this video for a link to the main how to play video and watch that first. If you do already know how to play though, let's get going. So, set up the game normally, play a map for yourself, board as normal, and then have a look through the bonus card deck for 5 cards with this icon in the top left corner. Then also remove the Venturesome Traveller from the companion deck and you can put them all back in the box. Alternatively, leave them in and when you see them during the game, just discard and draw a new one. Then, shuffle the Alpinist decision cards and place 2 face down nearby without looking. Place the Alpinist progression card and player card next to their decision deck. Although the Alpinist is one player, they use both the red and white playing pieces. Place the red and white character in the continent you start in. Place a white small cube on the 0 space of the Alpinist gear on their player card, and their energy tracker on the rested space. Then place their 16 flags underneath their player card. Choose the difficulty level, easy, normal, hard, or very hard, and then place white or red cubes on every space after your chosen space. For this example, we're going to choose the normal difficulty, and so we place cubes on the card like this. Place the white experience tracker on the experience track, and then it gains a number of experience advances based on your chosen difficulty level. Finally, give the Alpinist 2 mountains from the A deck and place them in a row directly next to their player card. Once you've finished setting up, alternate turns as normal, with you taking the first turn and then performing a simplified turn for the Alpinist. On the Alpinist's turn, flip the top card of the decision deck. If their deck is ever empty, first reshuffle all of the decision cards and then again set 2 aside without looking. Each decision card has the 3 actions listed on it. Resolve the topmost action on their card, although if the skip condition is met, instead resolve the middle action. Likewise, if this skip condition is met, resolve the bottommost action, and if all skip conditions are met, just travel as they would in the rest action. For the rest action, this is skipped if the Alpinist is rested. This means if their energy tracker on their player card is on the rested space. If it isn't though, the first step is to move their energy tracker from exhausted to rested, like so. Then the white and red players travel. Where the white character travels to is always on the left of the card, and where the red player travels to is on the right. This icon means that the left player travels to the continent of the Alpinist's leftmost mountain, in this case, Europe. And this icon means that the red player travels to the continent of the rightmost of the Alpinist mountains, in this case, North America. Some cards have the Alpinist travel to the same continent that your character is in, and some have the Alpinist travel to a specific continent. For the prepare action, this is skipped if the Alpinist has 4 mountains and more than 4 gear. Like in this case, if this condition isn't met, first the Alpinist takes the card from the mountain display that is depicted on the left of their prepare card. So in this case, they would take Mount Temple, and they always add mountains to the right of their existing mountains. If instead we saw this icon, that would mean that the Alpinist gains the leftmost of the mountain with the most gear. So the Alpinist would gain the card with the most gear, but if there are multiple with the same amount, or they all have none, the Alpinist gains the leftmost of those tied. Just like on your prepare turns, discard the mountain in the leftmost slot if it hasn't been taken, and replenish the mountain display as normal. As shown on the right of the Alpinist prepare card, the Alpinist gains a number of gear equal to the number of gear showing on their progression card. So at the start of the game, the Alpinist would gain 1 gear, and the Alpinist can never go beyond 8. For the climb turn, we skip this action if the Alpinist is unable to satisfy all of the requirements for any of their mountains. To see if they satisfy their mountains requirements, first we check if the Alpinist is rested. They can never climb or tag along if they're exhausted. So this takes care of the energy requirement, and the Alpinist can always roll the danger die to satisfy the experience requirement. For the gear requirement, they must have at least as many gear as shown on the mountain, and for the acclimatization requirement, one of their characters has to be in the right continent. If they can satisfy the requirements of at least one of their mountains, their decision card will tell you whether they want to climb the rightmost, or the leftmost of one of their mountains that they can satisfy the requirements for. In this case, the Alpinist cannot satisfy the requirements of Cima Grande because they don't have enough gear, but they can satisfy the requirements of Gros Piton, so they choose to climb this mountain. To decide what rewards they would like to choose, the game comes with this handy reference card, which also shows you the meaning of all the icons you can find on their decision cards. On the other side, it lists the possible rewards in order of the Alpinist preference, so they choose which group of rewards has the most flags. They completely ignore which rewards have the red danger icon. If both groups have the same number, or no flags, then the Alpinist looks at the number of die upgrades and stamina, and so on down the list to break any ties. If still tied after all this, like Loch Nagard's rewards, the Alpinist chooses the X rewards. In our example, the Alpinist chooses the X rewards because stamina is higher on their list than companions. Just like in a normal game, you then have the option to tag along, if possible, and climbers, travel, and pay requirements. If the Alpinist doesn't already have a character in the right continent, move the white character there. To pay an energy cost, the Alpinist moves their energy tracker from rested to exhausted, unless the energy cost is less than 5, in which case they leave it on rested, like in our case. To satisfy the gear requirement, just move their gear cube down one space for each depicted gear on the mountain card. The acclimatization and experience requirements are satisfied in the normal way. If the Alpinist needs to roll the danger die, you can do it for them. At the end of their climb turn, the Alpinist gains their chosen rewards, and then gains an amount of experience equal to the number shown on their progression card. So at the start of the game, this is 1. If you tagged along, as well as the unchosen rewards, you would also gain 1 experience advance, and the Alpinist gains an extra 1. Finally, place their mountain that they climbed to the left of their player card. Now let's go through how the Alpinist gains rewards. When the Alpinist gains flags, place them in the continent of the mountain that was climbed this turn. If no mountain was climbed this turn, instead place them with the white character. When the Alpinist gains a die upgrade, a stamina, or a tile upgrade, remove the next cube on the Alpinist progression card in the direction of the line. If this would reveal a flag, place a flag in the mountain's continent that was climbed this turn, or if no mountain was climbed, with the white character. When the Alpinist gains a bonus card, place one in their player area face down. This can be scored at the end of the game. Instead of gaining companions, the Alpinist gains a mountain from the top of the deck to the immediate right of the display, and they add it to the right of their other mountains. If the Alpinist ever has more than 4 mountains, at the end of their turn, discard down to 4 by discarding their leftmost mountain. For each mountain discarded this way, remove a cube from their progression card. If there are no more cubes on the Alpinist progression card, for each cube you would remove, the Alpinist gains a flag. The Alpinist gains experience advances as normal. Once they've gained any experience advances from their progression card, any additional ones revealed are not gained this turn. When you choose to climb on your turn and the Alpinist is able to tag along, flip over the next Alpinist decision card. If there is a white border around the card icon, the Alpinist decides to tag along. If there is a black border, they decide not to. If you have less energy than the higher energy requirement on a mountain that you want to climb, and could both climb it if the Alpinist tags along, you may flip over one of the Alpinist decision cards. If the Alpinist decides to tag along, you must then climb the mountain. After you gain the first climb tile upgrade, which reads, if there are multiple players climbing, you may pay 3 energy to gain 1 flag. If you do, other climbers may also. Each time you use it, flip over the next Alpinist decision card. If there is a white border around the card icon, the Alpinist gains a flag. If there's a black border, the Alpinist misses out. If you trigger the end of the game and the Alpinist has another turn, if they can climb one of their mountains, they will always skip the rest and prepare action to do so. The game ends and is scored in the normal way. So first score your bonus cards, and then you can score the Alpinist bonus cards based on their climbed mountains. Then run through the rest of the endgame steps to determine the winner. Finally, I just wanted to mention about playing with the Alpinist variant in a 2-player game to make it feel more like a 3-player game. Personally, I like the 2-player game the way it is, but I know some have really enjoyed adding the Alpinist for extra interaction and opportunities to tag along. If you think this might be you, you can add the Alpinist to your two-player games in the way that I've just explained in this video, but with two small changes. Firstly, after you've chosen a starting player, set up the Alpinist's play area to the right of theirs, so the Alpinist will take their turn third. And secondly, this icon, that usually means the Alpinist moves to your character's continent, instead it means they move to the character's continent of the player to the Alpinist's right. So that's everything you might need to know to play with the Alpinist. Hopefully you feel confident enough to give it a go, but if you have any questions at all, feel free to ask them in the Board Game Geek forums or in the comments of this video. Don't bother subscribing, but one thing that you could do to really help is rate the game on Board Game Geek if you've played it. There's a link in the description. Thank you very much for watching and have fun!